Hello, everyone. Welcome to a bSDD room session, part of the bSMART International Standards Summit for Rome 2023. Thank you for joining online and in person. My name is Artur, and I'll be your moderator today. Today's session, titled Workshop bSDD Part 1, Let's Build a Data Dictionary. And our speakers are Artur Tomczak, bSDD Product Manager, bSMART International. And then we will be joined by Andrea Aiello, OpenBIM Standards Expert at AK Software, and Alfonso Durso, BIM Engineer at AK Software. The session is scheduled to last an hour and 30 minutes, with time for questions at the end. We'll be recording this session, which will be available in the replay section of the platform as soon as possible. Before I hand over to our speakers, I'd like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will be muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to ask questions, please use the chat box in the control panel. And for those in the room, please try to keep background noise to a minimum and raise your hand if you wish to make a comment. I would also like to bring to your attention that bSMART is committed to ensuring participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. And now I'll hand over to Artur.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and welcome all our participants and guests. Do we have any more chairs at the back? No. So I'm glad that it's a really popular session. And as you can see, this will be a really hands-on workshop with post-it notes. And we have today, the plan for today is that I will first introduce bSDD and myself briefly, and then we will have a group exercise with sticky notes, post-it notes. And then after this, our friends from AK will present how the result of your today's work can be used when we upload it to bSDD, and how it can be, for example, used for enriching IFC models. So I hope you will learn something, and I hope you will have fun also doing this. So let's start by this picture. Can you see? Okay, I don't have yet the text, but I hope you can see it from the back. This is one object from the IFC model that I took. And just by looking at it, by looking at the geometry, we are not able to tell if it's a fridge or a wardrobe. But luckily, we have IFC schema, which are the foundation classes that we use. So if it's properly classified, if it's properly defined in IFC, we can see that, okay, this is electric appliance called fridge of a type fridge freezer. So we are able to tell more than just the geometry of our models. But in case we want to say that this is not a fridge but a wardrobe, we don't have a wardrobe concept in IFC, because IFC are just foundation classes that we all can agree on are the foundation of our modeling and exchange of information. And then here comes the concept of a data dictionary, which is a repository of information about data such as meaning, relationships to other data, origin, usage, and format. But to explain it with simpler terms, this is a place where we can define meaning of concept. We can define properties that we want to use to describe different attributes of our objects. And this is a place where we can, for example, define what a wardrobe is, and we can apply it to our IFC furniture object and say, okay, this is not just a furniture, it is a wardrobe. And bSDD is just a service. It's not a standard. It's a service that bSMART offers to facilitate data dictionaries. So it's a place for distribution of the results that you, for example, define in classifications. You can also put data templates there, properties, property sets, material libraries. All of this can be, you can contribute with this to the bSDD so that others have access to it. And there are a lot of tools that integrate with bSDD. But we'll discover this together during this workshop. There are a couple of aspects that I will cover later when we already know more about this. But many of you ask me how bSDD looks, and this is a very difficult question because it's difficult to show bSDD because there are many interfaces to bSDD. And one of them is, for example, this one. So this is the data from bSDD displayed in a graph. This is a unique class, part of unique class domain, showing the sustainability assessing property where it is. But it's not maybe the what most end users will see. Here we have I borrowed this picture. This is a representation of the data inside bSDD taken from the certification handbook. And here we see that in bSDD, we can have domains with classifications. So yeah, like definitions of different concepts, properties, they could be attached or not attached to those. And we can also build relations. So yeah, the power of the data dictionary comes when you relate it to other things that are already familiar to people. But bSDD can also look like this. I took only some of the implementations in software tools that we have. We will see one of them today at the end of our exercise. We'll see ASBeam. But also after lunch, we have another session with guests that will show us practical examples, how they use bSDD in their use cases, how they benefit from it. And also in the other session, in this one after lunch, the plan is to talk about the challenges and also the pains that they had. But yeah, here are different tools that already integrated with bSDD. But this is also how bSDD can look. This is our search page. Well, it looks, it cannot, it's not only can, but it does. So we have a search page where you can search for different concepts and properties. You can display how they look. You can see what are properties attached to them, what are the relations to other classifications. And you can also see that each of the classes in bSDD is identified by its URI. So URI is like a link that defines this concept. So we will discover, what's the advantage of that in a moment. But this is also how bSDD can look. This is what software sees. And in my opinion, bSDD shouldn't be known to everyone. I think people should benefit from it, but not necessarily everybody has to know about it, because this is our database that we share. And this is the database where we can put metadata, concepts, properties, and that, for example, software can draw from that database. So this is a sample API request. Maybe can you turn off the middle light, please? Thank you. You can make requests to access this data. And what's important, all of this content is free to use. You can also publish there for free, as long as you're okay with others being able to access it. So bSDD is a free service from buildingSMART to both host and get the data from. This is also how bSDD can look. This is what you see if you have IFC model referencing bSDD. So you can have references to bSDD in classifications, in properties, in materials. And this is one way to view bSDD as well. But let's discover it together. So we have prepared for you today a practical exercise. As you probably have seen already, on the tables you have sheets of papers, and you also have a note saying the use case of your group. So today you have to step into the shoes of this expert. For example, I have here lamp retailer. There somewhere is sustainability consultant. We have door and window manufacturer. And I will ask you today to prepare the very small sample of the data that you think is useful for this use case. And we'll see what's possible to put into the data dictionary and what can we later use it for. So you already did the first step, so you formed groups. Again, if somebody would like to join, we have some space here, so you can come forward, please. But, okay. This is the exercise for today. So we have prepared a simple IFC model showing, just a part of the apartment. And here we have different objects. you also have this printed on your exercises. And the first step for you, or the second step, will be to define basic concepts that you find in this picture that are relevant to your use case, your group use case. So please start doing it. Meet with your team members, define the name for your group, and all of you in the back, you can either come closer or you can just watch how the teams do it. It will take around 40 minutes. Yes, hi. Sorry, you have to come closer.
Well, maybe I just tell you, you can say, I just think because all the content we have it nouns, right? And maybe you mention not just nouns, but other types of concepts.
Yes, so before we get into the work, one important aspect. So there will be many steps. So this is only the first step of this exercise. We'll have around 8. So don't take all of the space that you have on the sheet, and try to not put too many sticky notes yet. Try to limit it to 10, maybe 8 post-it notes that define concepts. And those don't have to be only nouns. You can also have verbs that describe maybe some process related to this. But I think it will be easy to start with nouns. And please start. I will interrupt you in a moment and show you the next step. Important tip, please try to give it a hierarchy so that you have more general concepts and more, maybe sub-concepts or subtypes of those. Okay, everyone. Short announcement. So I see that some of the groups did start with defining properties, which is good. I didn't say it's not allowed, but put those sticky notes aside for a moment, because for the next step is about having relations. So you will be connecting those classes that you defined with lines. So for now, put the properties aside, and also bear in mind, there are no winners. It's leave some space on the side of your paper, so that we can add more later. But this is the next step, build relations. And again, raise hand if you need some advice. There was good point. If you find it difficult to connect everything, you can leave some of the concepts aside for now, but try to at least connect the main concepts that you have. Okay, I can give you a tip. If you are finding it difficult to connect space, you can put it next to the room and draw a line that they are, maybe.
Okay. So then maybe we do this.
You don't have to define what the relation means. You can just draw that there is a relation between them, and we later.
That is a part of the room. That's the working area.
Depends on the user. So some architect will think different, and MEP here will be.
Maybe you have sustainability.
I will show the next step. But you can always continue on the previous ones and ask questions if you need it. But the next step is to. It doesn't work. Yay, to add synonyms. So now you have to, don't do for all of them, just try maybe 2 concepts that you defined. Add a sticky note with a synonym of one of those or 2 of those concepts, and just put it on top of the existing one. So I had an example here. I had there was a Granny Smith apple, and another synonym for that is green apple. So just put on top a synonym. If you have different color, use different color. Okay, everyone. I will give you some time later to continue. But the next step for today is to define translations. So again, pick 2, 3 concepts that you have and give them a translation into the language other than English that you speak. Yeah, you can use whatever language you want. Okay, now it's time for the next step, which is now you can add properties that define those concepts. I know some of you already have some, so put them, yeah, maybe next to your graph that you already have. You don't have to connect it because that would be a lot of lines. Just maybe you can, yeah, draw a circle around that will represent a property set, and you don't have to do that. And yeah, think of few properties that define it. Okay, I will show the next step. So once you already have properties defined, under those, please write few examples or restrictions. I have here one example. So a weight should be more than 0 and expressed in kilograms. So those are 2 restrictions, and yeah, unit. And for example, taste could be sweet and sour. So those are 2 possible values. Just write a few as examples. Okay, everyone, I will show the next step. So under the A4 page, the printed one, you will find I already prepared some concepts there from the existing classifications. So if you rotate the page that you have with your group name, yay, you will find there 1 or 2 domains, or 3 in one case, that already contain some concepts. So this was already prepared by experts from different communities. So please rotate this page and take those post-it notes and put them on the side of your sheet so that you can draw relations and see if something is related to what you already prepared and show that there is some connection. So I have here example that, in our fruits and vegetables classification, there was already concept of apple, which is the same as my Italian mela. So please try to do this. Actually, yeah. So, yeah, in the square brackets, it's the name of the classification system that I took it from. So, for example, IFC 4.3 says that the next post-it notes are from this classification. So you don't have to link to the name IFC. Okay, yeah, I see amazing results. You don't have to make it complete. It was just for you to touch the data dictionaries, touch the bSDD yourself. And I also have the next step, but you don't have to do it physically. Oh no, I don't have this step. But the next step was for you to see other groups. You can do it maybe when we are finished and think that, okay, what you just described, for example, a concept of a door was in many of the groups, was already in somebody else's use case. So your door might be useful for sustainability use case, but it's also useful for fire protection. So everything is related, and this is one big knowledge graph with interdependencies. So that was the point of this exercise as well. And right now we have something to show you. So please, if you could, now pay attention. We have prepared something for you, which is more, digital than sticky notes. And this will be a demonstration of a data dictionary in AskBeam platform from Akka. So my guest will present it, but first I will show you what we will be digitizing. This is something that we prepared. Yeah, I was more or less thinking what I would put to define the lamp retailer. So this is my lighting classification, and I have defined floor lamp, ceiling lamp, table lamp, and I also did some translations and synonyms myself and added some properties. And then I looked at the eTeam domain, which is perfect for this lighting use case, and I connected eTeam classes to what I have defined and also eTeam properties. And as you can see, they are completely different than what I named it. Well, not maybe completely, but they are different. So we have prepared that in the bSDD, in the database, and we will now show how it looks, how it works, how you can use it. So,
thank you very much. Please, just a second before, I just want to tell you that what we are going to see is ASBIM bSDD editor is our tool in the platform ASBIM to create a new bSDD file. So you just need to add a new file, bSDD document, in this case, bSDD example, and you select the language, the first language, the main language, then you can see we can translate it, add some information as the bSDD standard requires, licensing and other general information. And then we start to classify. First of all, we create the first class, lighting, add the code. Each class must have a code, unique code, description, name. Also, we can add IFC class relations and other information. And we can append, in this case, another type of classification, table lamp, again, a code, a name, and so on. And this going on, we can create all these hierarchy that you have just seen in the slide. After that, you can start to create the properties. Bulb type with the name, a code, again, a name, a description, and an example here, for example, is a field called example where you can write what an example of information. You can add allowed values. So just some values are allowed for this type of properties. You can add also some restriction, as you've seen before. We have E14, E27 as available allowed values. And then we can create relationship with other properties. We are looking for native properties. We know already that this is the code of the property. So we create a reference from these properties to the eTeam properties. And after, we can start to add the properties to each classification. So after you create the properties, you link the properties to the classification. This property is called lamp bulb type with the default value. You can add specific restriction on this specific class, the name of the property set where this information is stored, and so on. And then you can also start to translate the bSDD in other languages. For example, in Italian. Here, now, just some fields are writable. So you can write in this field and translate some description, name, in other languages. In this case, in Italian. You can add synonyms, as you have seen. You can add the specific relationship. Also, the country where you use this type of classification and other information. After that, you can validate your dictionary against the bSDD service of buildingSMART. And after that, you can upload this classification directly to the buildingSMART online services. Okay, the classification is uploaded. Now you can use with another tool, a bSDD modeler. We will see our tool, but you can use it with another tool as well. So in this case, this is the FC file that you have just seen. Again, in our ASBIM browser application, here you open the ASBIM bSDD modeler. You choose the lighting classification that we have just uploaded, and we start to classify. In which way? We just select one element. On the other side, we say that this element has this classification. This is a chandelier. This is another lamp. In this case, we have some properties. So we can directly here write the properties. There is always a restriction check. All the information are saved directly in the FC file. So now the FC file is updated with all this information coming from the bSDD. For example, there are some utilities, you can see all the different classification in different color in the FC file. Yeah. So just tell you that ASBIM bSDD editor is free, so you can use free forever. You just need to register to our platform, while bSDD modeler is pay per use, but you have 3 months for free. So you just register and activate your license, and you can use it with all the bSDD classification in the production environment, also in the test environment. So you can create your own classification, and you can use directly in the platform, and you can update directly here the IFC file. You need to use any other tools. I try to be quick and but clear. So there's a question here.
Before questions, so thank you very much for the presentation. As I said at the beginning, there are many interfaces to bSDD because this is just a service that is happening, in the back, and the user does not necessarily need to see the bSDD page because that's not the intended use always. So that was one example how you can contribute with the data to bSDD and how to use it from the perspective of BIM modeler. And there are many use cases. So after this session, there will be lunch, and after lunch, there is a session with guests that will show the practical examples, how they use it for asset management, for environmental properties, how they use bSDD to write the requirements on projects, and many different cases. And right now we have some time that we saved, so you can ask any question about bSDD now, and say who you want to ask, maybe if it's specific.
Oh, thank you. So Akka, when you created that link for the property of the lamp, is that stored in the IFC file, the link to that specific bSDD?
You mean in the modeler, in the second software?
Yeah.
It's all the information are stored directly in the IFC file. The classification, the information about the classification, and the information about the property set, the property. The IFC file is changed directly on the cloud.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Please.
So this information is connected to the GUID of an element, and then if you view the same file in a different environment, you can see these connections as well, right?
Yeah, it's not a connection, it's just the FC file. We save the information in the FC file. So if you download the FC file, you see the information inside the FC file. It's not a link.
Yeah, I know, but so the information in bSDD is dynamic, right? So if it, this is how I mean that if you save it in the IFC file, then it's static. And if it's, do I get it right?
Yes, partially, yes, mostly. So I will just answer because this is a question about bSDD in general. So every concept in bSDD has identification, identifier. It's not GUID, more or less, because it's now called URI. So it's an online reference. So you can use it as a link. You can use it in the API. And you just make this reference in your IFC model. I have shown at the beginning this slide. This one. So in IFC, for example, if you have a property called area and you want to make a reference to what is the meaning of area, what are the translations, possible values, and so on, units, you can just make the this reference using a URI. This is an example of URI, and it says where is this information coming from? Who is the owner of this? Concept or of this information? What is the classification name, version? And then, for example, properties are stored under prop, and you have the name of it. So you can think of the whole link and specifically this code at the end as the identifier. So basically, if the content is updated in bSDD, you don't change anything in IFC model. And the IFC model still points to this reference, but depending on the version. So if you specify the version, you will be pointing at particular version of this information back in time. So if there is a new one, it's up to you if you specify if you want to point to the latest or to the one that you used when it was created. So you don't have to always overwrite the existing content. You can have multiple versions in the bSDD. Did I answer you?
Yeah, exactly. So it's totally like free to add more of these properties in other softwares or other tools, and you can then add to this IFC file. And then if you open it in ASBEM, for example, you will see all the changes that you made somewhere else as well, right? Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And there are many ways to upload the content. Yeah, we just saw one of them. It's also possible to do through the API. We have templates. We have templates in JSON, in Excel, and there are many organizations that they write their own way to integrate with what they already have, such as, for example, we'll see in the next session how the WaterNet is using their ontology to convert to bSDD. So there are many ways you can upload, but we expect more people to be using than uploading, because at the end of the day, designers don't have to define everything from scratch. They can just use existing national, international standards, classifications, material lists, and you name it. Another question? Yes. Yeah, thanks. Just the one at the back. Yeah. Evander, if you want to add something. And Mike?
I don't know if I understood well, but it seems that when we are constructing in bSDD, we fill in the classification, all the information, we fill that ourselves. Is there some standard on the way we fill in these gaps?
Very good question. Thank you. So, yeah, I didn't want to start with it because I would probably bore some of you, but now I think we already learned enough that we can cover those aspects. So, yeah, bSDD is a service to facilitate those dictionaries, and there are many platforms that they help you to manage and author those dictionaries based on the use case, such as product data templates, property sets. There are like uniclass, NBS defines uniclass in their own website. And basically bSDD is a place where you can mimic those or you can upload those so that it's easy to integrate with your tools, with your IFC editing tools. You can integrate it with something that has nothing to do with IFC as well. We've seen those examples as well. So some facility managers might use bSDD to help them, for example, convert model that comes from the design process. They could convert it to their definitions.
Does buildingSMART recommend some kind of standards?
So bSDD is, I will show previous slide. bSDD is based on 2 ISO standards, actually 3, and it's not. It's just one implementation of those standards. There are others, and we try to support the concepts from those 2 standards, the ISO 12006 and ISO 23386 on data dictionaries. And the properties in bSDD, most of them are just strictly taken from those standards, which define what's the content that you need to have, or what's the content that you can have. But also there are some properties that we had to add to support various use cases, but without limiting the support for those standards. So, for example, bSDD also adds this support for linked data purposes. So, the ontologies. And for that, for example, we had to add some attributes to make it useful. And also we made API working for other use cases than just pulling the data to authoring tools for IFC models. So it's based on those standards, and we provide the data template and documentation on what is required if you want to upload your data dictionary and what is optional to use. And yeah, I hope this answers.
Okay, thank you.
Another.
You were showing a very specific example today with your fruits and stuff and kinds of apples. Let's take the case that you upload these informations, for example, with Akka, into the cloud. Is it available, or is it interesting to be available for others, or is it just my private use case if I'm a fruit?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Dealer.
you. Glad you asked. So let's just go online. I hope I'm allowed to do that. So if I now go to the search page of bSDD, I can just type apple, and it's actually there. Actually, it's also in eTeam, but I'm talking about this fruit and vegetables domain, which we have to demonstrate how it works. And you can read about apple. You can read about properties of apples and relations. Well, since this is a very abstract classification system, it's not linked to other classification systems. But if I go for a wall, I will show a wall in a moment, but I will just show you, okay, this one doesn't have, but we also have this demo version of bSDD. Let's show you. So if I type apple here, it will show me relations to, for example, IFC, but also I will see translations into Dutch and Polish. So I see many Polish people here. So this is jabłko. And this is the same concept with the same identification. So this is still pointing to apple, but it's just showing that it can be translated. There could be synonyms, and it means the same. But it could mean also something different for different use case. And that's why we have those relations to different other classification systems. So yeah, this data is available. We uploaded this to demonstrate, but we have many organizations uploading their content as we speak. So yeah, this is accessible.
Thank you.
Another question? Yeah, sure.
Is there an automated way to prevent duplication of entities in bSDD?
Thank you for this one. It's a tough one. Why? Because we allow duplicates. That's why we have options to draw relations to say, for example, okay, my classification system has exactly the same concept, such as a wall is present in Uniclass, IFC, eTeam, many. So we allow for duplicates as, yeah, they can be independent concepts, or you can show how they are related to the industry standards that already exist. But for example, when you search for it, you could filter, okay, you are not interested in any wall. You're interested on a wall defined by ISO, or you're interested in a wall defined by NBS. So yeah, we don't limit how, yeah, what data you can upload, except that we need to know who is responsible for it. Is there a license on it? And for example, if this is maybe breaching, or you are obviously uploading something that is confusing, we might say that, okay, this is maybe not desired, but basically we want to support many different use cases from different organizations and different industry, different disciplines. So
I have a question. I don't know if I have understood it correctly. What is the business model here? Can you say it's free to use? So if we create a Swedish buildingSMART data dictionary to be used by all the companies, shall we not pay something for that? How is that?
Good question.
Done?
And yeah, so it is free to publish and use, because we think this is a service that provides great added value for, like in comparison, is a quite small hosting fee to have it. But of course, yeah, it has to be sustainable as well. So we are thinking about some features that will be on top of it, but would not limit the main use case for majority of the users. And yeah, we are thinking about having, for example, concepts that could be private if some organization doesn't want to share. And if you're not sharing, you're not contributing. So this is something that you should pay for because we provide you service and you don't give it to other people. Another could be, for example, to have statistics on how many people use this definition. So we could, for example, sell the data. But this we want to be for free. And I hope to be able to answer this more precisely after a few months, but I just joined 2 months ago. Yeah, thank you. Evandro, could you please? Sorry. Yeah, because we have some people online, so I want them to hear as well.
How do you know that the input on that dictionary is reliable?
Great question. Another one. I don't, but we are now working on procedures to basically make some of the concepts or some of the classifications verified. Like you can think of like the Twitter checkbox saying that this has been validated according to standards, but it won't limit the basic use case. So if you're a company that just want to publish something for, maybe you have 100 projects that use the same properties and you want to share it with your stakeholders, you will be free to do that. But yeah, we don't want, for example, people that are not interested in Polish Jabłko to have it there, so they could filter the data that they can access. But some of the classifications, such as IFC, eTeam, can be validated and approved. So you can see,
So this is kind of repository of information.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And most importantly, being the owner, you are responsible of the content, mainly. So if you are the owner and you care about your content.
Of course.
Yeah, sorry. If you are the owner and you care about the content, we assume that you put effort to make sure that your content is correct.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, I think Artur mentioned every owner has a domain, and only you can edit your domain. Other people cannot edit your domain, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Evandro. So in this case, we didn't put any license on it, but in other ones, in other classification systems, there is usually a license. So you could say, what license allows others to do. And if we had a case that we saw somebody basically copied something that was free to, you can find it online, but it's not free to redistribute. So when we saw that there was some breach of a license, that's the case when we can intervene and say, okay, we don't want this to be in bSDD because it's obviously not your content. So that's the case for this.
Thank you.
I see one more.
When is this going to be open source?
Open source in terms of the infrastructure behind, or open source in terms of the content?
The infrastructure.
So thank you for this question. So right now, this was being developed for the last 2 or 3 years before I joined, and right now it's not, except for some parts of it. We are thinking about actually open sourcing for example, some parts of it that are not maybe prone to be cause of some problems, such as the front end. For example, this is something that we could take suggestions from people. They could, for example, suggest that they are missing a button or something, or improve the search API, because we know that this is limited right now. So we are thinking about outsourcing some parts of it, but this was not our priority yet.
That's clear. I don't really mean in terms of adapting it. I mean in terms of the longevity of the project. If you're going to monetize this, then it should be public domain, right? Because buildingSMART is mostly standardization. This is a service. It's really a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think obviously we won't give people access to copy the database, because that's against GDPR and other laws that we need to comply with. But we want to facilitate standards in terms of, for example, we have a button to suggest changes. So if you, for example, see something that is not correct or you think something is missing, you can propose changes. And the owner of the content, because we are not owning the content, it belongs to those that publish it. They have to update it. But if you talk about the infrastructure, apart from the database and all the logic that is related to this infrastructure, we can talk more after this. If you have some suggestions, how you think this could help, if you have access to the source code, we can definitely discuss it. I'm open to it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, one more here.
Yeah, talking about domains here, it's not obvious who is responsible. It's not obvious who is responsible for each domain.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be some definition or explanation of each domain rather than or each element within?
Yeah, so thank you. Actually, it is, if you want to publish anything, you need to first start organization in bSDD. And basically we have a form that has only basic information about, okay, who is the owner, who can modify the content after logging in. And for example, there's also, you have to confirm that you own the content and you know the rights that are relevant to it. But each concept in the domain, so each domain has its owner. So we don't allow any content without owner. And in this case, this is, this demo, agree demo company. But in all of the cases, you can click on the owner. Usually there's a link that provides information about who owns it. Usually there is a link to a website of that organization. So there is no abandoned content that nobody owns. And for example, if we see that something is not used for a long time, we can ask owner to consider if it's still relevant. Did I answer your question?
Well, partly. I don't think it's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I got this domain Swedish materials, and it says just SBE, which is a temporary
but
source of projects, and so the owner must be more clearly defined, so you can trace the content really.
Okay, good question. So there are many things we have on our long list to implement. One of them is change history between different versions, and for example, what you just mentioned, we have a very big test environment which is more used than the actual bSDD because many companies are experimenting. And I think the example that you gave is from the test domain that there is. We have different search page for the test and production environment. We have different API for the test and production, and we also have different database behind. So basically the idea is that we want to limit how long the content can be in the test, because tests should be temporary, like limited in time, but the actual production database should have content that makes sense, basically. Thank you.
Sorry, I was not quick enough.
Thank you. When we, as designers, pick some object on an online library, and we use proprietary tool to make our design, does the object come already with this originally from the manufacturer? He puts the object on online libraries, and we pick them on the proprietary form to use on our design. When we export to IFC, this information comes along?
It's not up to us. They can. So they can use it. It's a service to facilitate a lot of the work that we are doing in rooms and chapters, such as we had a discussion today in the morning about sustainability. So in bSDD, you could host properties and classes relevant to sustainability use case, and you can show what's the meaning behind, for example, global warming potential. So you don't put this meaning into IFC property. You just make a reference to the bSDD where you have explanation, okay, what is it? How do you measure it? who standardizes it, what is the unit, what is the, there are many attributes that you can define. But if you ask about proprietary object libraries, they can use it. They can make a reference to IFC. From my perspective, if you enrich your IFC with reference, you just pass more information, more metadata behind. But I guess I don't know many that do, but this is something we will definitely try to promote to basically to help the industry. That's the main goal of this. Thank you. Okay, another question? If not, then...
We do have some questions from our online participants. Siegfried said, can USBIM be used to edit already existing data in bSDD? Can USBIM be used to edit already existing data in bSDD?
No, you cannot download classification and update it. Not yet.
From Christoph, thanks for the presentation. Is it possible to provide new domains for the bSDD using OWL format?
And about the previous one, so obviously you cannot edit some content that is not yours. That's why we have this process that you need to first establish organization in bSDD, which is a very simple process, and then this organization owns the data, so only them can edit. That's basically the case. And the other one about OTL?
OWL?
Okay, yeah. Basically, right now we support upload of content through JSON file. We have a template for JSON, and we have API to support it. We have seen examples how people, for example, use shackle rules to convert OWL content to JSON to upload. Yet we haven't seen enough demand for any other integration. Basically, we also have limited resources to develop it, but there are a lot of things that we want to improve. So right now, it's up to the content creators to prepare the data in the desired form, and we have to take it into our template file.
Thank you. Siegfried also asked, is it not risky to enhance just an IFC file and not the origin?
So if I understand correctly, he suggests to make changes to IFC itself, not to enrich it with additional things?
Just talking about IFC file. I'm not sure I understand the question. Is it not tricky to understand?
I get it. So for example, the origin being, I don't know, Archicad or Revit or Tekla model. Okay. So of course, it makes more sense to change the origin. IFC is just for now at least, the export file, except for ASBeam, Blender Beam, and those that use IFC as the native format. But if you have proprietary formats, then of course it makes sense to update the origin. But it's not limited to just IFC. As I said, you can use it for many different, and we see for asset management, facility management as well. And they don't use IFC always.
Thank you. And Anthony is asking, can you explain what happens to the data exported from model authoring tools? Is there a risk of duplicated information? Who would like to?
If you have answer, please.
No, not specific answer. I think it's a tool problem. If the tool export 2 times, I don't see a specific problem with the bSDD. Then other problems that they have already. So I don't know.
Yep. Okay. If there are more questions, maybe more specific questions, I will, come to me. I will share my contact info. You can follow up with me after. But I think, unless there's any other question, no. I think I would like to thank you for this session. And if you're interested to learn more, we have practical session after lunch in this room. Thank you so much, Andrea. Andrea.
That's one.
Very good.
Thank you.